Marlon Jones is officially official. Vandy hoops upsets the Aggies, and baseball is only one day away. Let's go.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers, join today and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Well, here we go. It is officially official, in the words of Ian Rappaport. Marlon Jones is officially a Commodore. He will enroll this summer. I'm telling you guys, Vandy gets a defense. The Vandy defense gets a premier guy from the FCS. His time at Eastern Washington, he was a dude. And as you can see in the thumbnail, that he makes plays and he will boost this defense. Now, I can hear it now. He comes from the FCS. I get it, right? Like, just because he comes from the FCS doesn't mean he's not a good ball player. Like there's a lot to that. But I think if you just watch him play, you watch how he tracks the ball in the air. I think he's going to be successful. That is what I believe. And I'm telling you, Clark Lea having a corner like this on his defense will allow him. I mean, we talked about what having good defensive line play allows for him. We talked about how important the edge rusher is, correct? But when you're entering an era of college football that is very wide open, and even in the physical beat you up SEC, things are faster, things are more explosive, things are more vertical nowadays. It's not finesse anymore to throw the ball around. And if you have a premier corner out there, if you have a guy out there who has experience, and Eastern Washington is not just some podunk school. The Big Sky is a great football conference. There's some good football being played out there. The Grid, Montana State, Weber State, Eastern Washington, like that whole conference, man, like that might be the second best conference in all of FCS football. Missouri Valley, obviously, with North Dakota State, North Dakota, South Dakota State, those teams, obviously, those are the teams that are in the national championship every single year. Those teams are obviously really, really good. The Colonial for a minute was an absolute beast of a conference because they had James Madison as one of their premier teams. But right now, like the Big Sky is about as competitive as it gets. And I think as far as like physical, vertical football attacks, I think you're getting a cornerback that has a lot of game experience because that is a very, very explosive conference. Like all of those teams throw the ball extremely well. All of those teams are very well coached, or at least the top 6 teams in that conference are very well coached. They do a lot of great things schematically to test you, to put guys on islands and things like that. Like they've tested Marlon Jones, and he's a grad transfer. So he's been through some things at Eastern Washington. And the picture I selected for my thumbnail is kind of a really good representation of like some of the things that Marlon Jones can do. I mean, he plays the ball really well at the point of attack. Actually at the highest point in the air. At the point of attack, I think he's somebody that can do most coverages. I haven't seen him press a whole lot because I haven't seen a ton of Eastern Washington football. But like to me, I think you're going to get a guy that's pretty versatile, can cover most guys, and will give you kind of an element of, or a sense of kind of relief over there. You're just like, okay, I don't know what number he's going to wear at Vandy, but he wore 20 at Eastern Washington. So you're over there probably as a defensive staffer. You're probably like, okay, like you're looking over there. You're like, okay, we got 20. 20's good. We're in good shape. The DB's coach is like, hey, we got 20 in there. Hey, we got 20 in there. Let's come after him, Clark. We got 20 over there. We're going to go zero coverage. We can lock them up. Let's come after him, right? Those are the conversations going to be had in the headset, because like you have a guy that you trust, and an experienced grad transfer guy. He knows how to watch film. Like some of these younger guys, it takes them a minute to really truly learn how to watch film. And again, you're probably thinking, it's film. Like what is there to watch? Like you just watch it and your coach yells at you, right? That's all that goes on in these film sessions. No. When you're watching film, especially if you're watching film by yourself, you've got to know how to take notes. You've got to know how to diagnose things that you see. You've got to hear those coaching points in your head as you're watching yourself. When you're watching opponents, you probably got to watch the same play 20 times. And you watch everything about the receiver's release, pick up on patterns of how he comes off the ball on a run versus a pass versus an RPO. How physical does this guy want to be? And I guarantee you Marlon Jones is going to test that, especially with these perimeter screens. He's going to test the wide receivers want to. And it takes a lot of want to want to block. So Marlon Jones is going to test that. And you've got a guy that I think will be a good leader to a relatively inexperienced room. I think you've got a good role model and a good leader for Colby Taylor, because I think you bring in, like I said, you bring in a big 6'4" guy from Wyoming who's also very raw. I think it's at 6'4" as a corner, 6'3.5", 6'4" as a corner. If you end up at Wyoming, it just means you haven't really figured out how to play in your frame. And Marlon Jones, I think, is being an older guy, he can come in and kind of really teach him some of those things. So I'm excited about it. You get a good leader. It's good for the defense. Again, you get a lot of things. You get a lot of things that obviously is very good for your defense. You get a lot of freedom, and when you get a lot of freedom, you can do a lot, right? It's somebody that provides you the ability to get creative. It's somebody that provides an extra coach on the field. It gives you somebody that's versatile. It gives you a little bit of credibility to your defense. Like you can, Marlon, go over there. And he's somebody that I think, coming from FCS, he wants to play in the NFL. I think he could be good enough to play in the NFL. He needs some SEC tape. And I think you're going to get that. And so he's officially official, which is exciting. And just, Clark Lea has got to have a little sense of release. You've got a little bit of veteran help at that position, and you desperately need that because you're relying on some inexperienced guys. And there's going to be, if he goes down, obviously that's bad. But like you really come into the season at the cornerback position looking down. Okay, okay, okay. Thank you for Marlon Jones. Thank you for a veteran guy. Thank you for a mature guy. So it's good to see. Glad he is finally officially and officially a Commodore. And welcome officially to Commodore Nation. So what he's going to have to do, he's obviously a mid-year, he's obviously a summer enrollee transfer. So the keys for Marlon Jones Jr. when he gets here is, and I have no doubts that he will be able to, but he's got to get up to speed scheme-wise. He'll get with Coach Steiner in the weight room. and immediately start working on his speed. He'll work on his diet stuff, getting him nutritionally right. I don't know what kind of program they have in that regard at Eastern Washington, but I imagine he's going to upgrade that. He's got to get fitted for his hard hat and his helmet, and all his PPE for when they have to enter the stadium. He's going to get his forklift license for driving to and from classes, because Vandy is one big construction site. So why not drive a forklift, right? No. In all seriousness, like it's going to be kind of a quick transition for him, and he's going to be in and out of this program before you even know it. But I think he's poised for a big year, and we're glad to have him. I talked about him a little bit when I talked about like what the cornerbacks were going to look like, how our grad transfer guys were going to impact, and what they allow. And this is, like I said, this is going to allow Clark Lea to say, okay, one of my cornerback spots is good. We're all good. So, yeah, Marlon Jones, officially Commodore. Welcome. When we come back, basketball. Yes, I said it. Basketball won a game, which nobody ever thought was going to happen. So we're going to talk about that here in a minute. All right. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. That's right, FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. So bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel is the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Thank you. Welcome back to the Locked On Vandy podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. Make sure you make Locked On SEC your second listen each and every day. Thank you. Thank you to the everydayers. Follow the show on social media at Locked On Vandy on X and Instagram. Follow me at Coach Burton36. Shout out to VandySports.com. Was shouted out over there. Appreciate you guys. Hope some of you are listening now. If you are, tip of the cap from one Rivals person to the other. Chris Lee does a tremendous job over there. You should read along. You should read Chris's content and while you're listening to the show. It's best of both worlds, right? So anyway, just thought I would mention that shout out there. Appreciate you guys. All right, so Vandy basketball, guys. Vandy basketball. Get this. They won. And they won in dramatic fashion. Ezra Manjon, late in the game, put the team on his back. They should just wear these gold uniforms all year long, right? Ezra Manjon's been he's been the dude all year long. He really has. And it really kind of paid off. The shot he hit, it was a bit of a circus shot, I guess, bit of like a prayer, but they win 74-73. They have, for the first time in quite some while, that they've won a conference game in Memorial. It feels like it's been years. It obviously hasn't, but it feels like it's been years. But yeah. The guard play was outstanding again. Vin Allen Lubin also, he scored the first 11. They held leads throughout the different points throughout the games. I think one of the things that Vandy did was they limited the runs. I don't think any of Texas A&M's runs got too bad or too insurmountable. Because once teams go on, the MO for Vandy is once a team gets on a run, it's over, right? And that didn't happen. Tyron Lawrence had a nice night as well, but it was it was good, and it was good to finally see this team just kind of come together. Because even though even though I still think there's change that needs to happen, I still, the opinion on that is not any different, but it's good for this. It's good for the players to have this success. It's good for the fans to experience a win. It's good for the university. It's just good for everybody. And I don't care what the situation is. I don't care what you think of Stackhouse. I don't care what you think of anything with this basketball team. A win is a win, and it feels good to win. End of story. So I think when you look at that, it's I think a lot of people are. Some people are upset that Vandy won because they think they'll extend Jarek Stackhouse. I think the decision is made personally, but that's just me. So, but it is always a lot of fun to win. But toughness, Ezra Manjon, his toughness, night in and night out, game in, game out. That guy hits the deck. That guy takes hard fouls. He can get to the rim. He can shoot. He can create. He can get other people involved. I mean, it's just he's a competitor, man. He's a competitor. He makes plays, and unfortunately, what did Stackhouse in, or what's going to do Stackhouse in inevitably, is the fact that he just couldn't recruit or retain guys around Ezra Manjon. I mean, Jason Rivera Torres is good. He's hitting a wall now, but he's good. But he's not a star yet. You don't have the Scottie Pippen Jr. He's in the NBA, obviously. He was going to the NBA regardless, but you've got to. I think you've got to be able to recruit better. I think that's been a downfall. Being so close to Atlanta and the AAU scene that's growing in Nashville, I think you've got to be able to get some of those guys. You play in a unique environment, and you play, when this place is rocking, when Memorial Gym is rocking, it is a brutal place to play. But right now it's just not rocking. But anyway, I don't want to take away from this win. And Ezra Manjon, he is the heart and soul of this team. Then Alan Lubin had the best game of his career. He scored double figures in 3 of the last 4 games. He's obviously a Notre Dame transfer. He's starting to heat up a little bit. So you're starting to unfortunately, it's mid-February, and these guys are starting to heat up a little bit. These guys are starting to kind of gel a little bit. It's disappointing that they couldn't do it in November, but it's still good to see. And just think if they could have had this, all year long, we might not be talking about this. But I just think it's great that this team won. Let's not get away from I gotta fight. I gotta fight away from this. Let's not get off topic here. The win is great. These players are starting to come together. A lot of these players are probably going to be here next year, so they need to experience this. So yeah, they every time they made runs, they had answers. That's the story of the game. The guard play was outstanding. Lubin again had a really nice night, and it's good. So 8.5 point underdogs too, and they were quite good against Texas A&M last night. So excited about that. They play at Tennessee Saturday. Are they going to remain upset-minded? The question is, what if this was the spark that they just made a run and Vanderbilt just all of a sudden becomes a good team? I don't know if that's likely, but we'll play the what if game here. What if that happens, right? What if that happens? You never know. But hats off to Vandy winning. It's a really, really good, really, really good accomplishment. Ezra Manjon, man, has been a tremendous leader, competitor, scorer, just all-around team guy. I mean, just beat up all year long, mentally, physically, emotionally, all that stuff. And to do what he does night in, night out, man, it's outstanding. So Vandy victorious 74-73 over the Aggies. The Vols in Knoxville is up next this weekend. So I'm sure some eyes will be glued to that as well. But anyway, when we come back, we'll wrap up the show and get you into Friday's episode, which will feature Derek Vandy to talk a little. Tomorrow's episode will be all baseball, so stay tuned. All right, we are presented also by Gametime. There you go, right there. Gametime. So what would you do with an extra $100 in Vegas if you were there for the big game? Would you buy yourself a great dinner? Would you hit the blackjack table, the slots? What would you do? So Gametime is the fastest, easiest way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. Right now, all users get $100 off when they buy a big game ticket with code Vegas100. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. That's right. That is absolutely right. So what are some things you like to do? Last minute tickets? Are you a fan of flash deals, zone deals, deals in general, views from your seat, easy to find and buy tickets, lowest price guarantee, like whatever it is. Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. So like I said, you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You have all-in prices to show you your total up front, so you know what you're getting. So you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. Also, you can buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Right now, all Gametime users get $100 off a big game ticket with code Vegas100. Terms apply. Just download the Gametime app. Use the code Vegas100, VEGAS 100 for $100 off big game ticket. Or if you're not going to the game, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off of your purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, welcome back. It is Locked On Vandy. We are wrapping up the show here today. Kind of baseball. We'll wrap up with baseball. We're gonna take you into, now it's gonna be 35 minutes of straight baseball coverage to get you into the weekend. And when I say 35 minutes, I mean tomorrow's show is gonna be 30 minutes, and we're gonna spend the last, well, actually 37 minutes. So, because we're going to spend the last 7 minutes covering baseball tonight, and got Derek Vandy coming on as a guest for tomorrow's show. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk baseball, all things Vandy baseball. But tomorrow kicks off baseball. So we're going to have a show previewing, and not previewing, but we're going to talk to Derek Vandy and get we're just going to do some baseball talk, right? Get you ready, get you primed for the upcoming series against Florida Atlantic. So it'll be a fun weekend. The doors kick off at Hawkins Field, the Hawk, right? So Tim Corbin announced the starting rotation for this game, for this series. So it's interesting to note, and Aria Garrison from the Tennessean, she reported this, and she reported this on social media, and there's an article out there in the Tennessean about it. The starting rotation is going to be Grayson Carter, Bryce Cunningham, and Devin Futrell, with Carter Holton coming out of the bullpen. Now, why is that a big story? It's a big story because Carter Holton was named to the All-SEC second team. Carter Holton is going to be a stud. But given his injury history and kind of how he's rehabbed back, Tim Corbin, I think, feels like it's best to just ease him back in, right? Give him some bullpen work, give him some long relief work. I think coming in, I don't see these pitchers in this series going deep into the game as far as the innings go, because I think that's just kind of how these things work to start out. Like, it's almost like spring training where, like, you have these guys on pitch counts. They're going to go 4, 5, 6 innings. Then you're going to bring in your relievers. And there's a plan here with how they're going to rotate these pitchers. I think you're going to, obviously baseball is that way early in the season, especially when the weather is schizophrenic, when the, it's not conference games yet. And, they're trying to figure some things out. So they're going to throw a lot of guys, probably see what they got in the bullpen, probably test out a few closers to kind of see what they have, that they can close games with and things like that. So, but Grayson Carter, Bryce Cunningham, and Devin Futrell are going to be three really, really talented guys as the starters. I think eventually you may see Grayson Carter and Carter Holton switch, where like Grayson Carter will be like a weekend bullpen guy, but a midweek starter. So he'll start like the Wednesday game against somebody, and then be available in the bullpen like Saturday, Sunday type deal. Or like if something happens, if there's an injury, he gets back in. So like it's good to have 4, maybe 5 really good starters that can be, long relief, weekday start. Like early in the season, I think when you're playing multiple midweek games, you have two really good bullpen guys that are starters that are also long relief and spot starters if you have injuries, things like that. So Carter Holton, I think the story there is just that he is just not quite well. And there was a quote, again, Aria's, if you want Vandy baseball information, I'm reacting to what she's posting. Like she is an absolute gem as far as like digging out the information. I'm just reacting to it. So it's really her work that I'm reacting to and giving my opinion on based on what she's saying. So she put out a quote by Tim Corbin saying that Carter Holton, he's going to start the 4th and 5th inning. Like he's going to still be a starter, but we're just going to ease him in and make sure he is good to go before they just cut him loose. Right. Cause it was a significant injury. Like it wasn't good. And he needs time to kind of get back in the flow of things. And this will kind of help that. This will kind of help that cause right there. So exciting stuff. I think Futrell is going to be really, really good. Bryce Cunningham's going to be outstanding in the rotation. I'm very confident in these guys. I'm very confident in Carter Holton too when he's finally fully back. So this is Grayson Carter's chance to like say, Coach Corbin, not so fast. It's my turn. I'm going to be the starter. There ain't a daggum thing you can do about it. So, but again, it's a pretty nice rotation. Closer, Ryan Ginther, Sawyer Hawks, and Ethan McIlvain, I think are 3 names that you'll see kind of rotated through, and they'll try to find one that's consistent, comes in and basically slams the door shut. Jack Bolger, probably not going to DH much. These are some notes. Cam Koziel will play in the opening weekend at some point. Him and Jaden Davis will probably rotate at second base, and just kind of see what they got there. Jack Bolder, if he's not catching, he'll likely play in the outfield. What they're going to do at DH, I'm not sure. I'm guessing that might be one of the corner infielders that I talked about a couple episodes ago. There's just a lot of. This is going to be fun to kind of watch how this lineup takes shape, honestly, and I'm very, very much excited for that and very much here for that. So you're going to be in for a treat when you watch Vanderbilt baseball. I promise you that. So. The corner infielders that I mentioned, the catching situation, I think they're in really, honestly, they're in really, really good hands there. Just about at every spot. The Andrew Dukanich, the Duke, he's going to be the top reliever. Maybe he's the setup guy. Maybe he's the guy that comes in and shuts you down for 2 innings. Maybe even get some time moonlighting as a closer. Your right fielder, Calvin Hewitt, that's kind of the projected guy there. He is defensively, he's really good. Also, I think in the lineup, he'll be somebody that can get on base, drive in runs. Looking forward to that. RJ Austin, I think will start in center field, and presumably he will. Troy Lenev is presuming to be the starter in left field, although there's some DH possibilities where he slots in at DH and somebody like Braden Holcomb or Jack Bolger or somebody like that gets into the outfield, just depending on how he wants to, and it might be a pitching matchup thing, but depending on how Tim Corbin wants to construct the lineup. And then Alan Espinal as the catcher. I think he's going to be the constant catcher, and the catching position will be determined based on who's pitching, because pitchers are very particular about who's their catcher. So anyway, but that's going to do it for us here on the Locked On Vandy podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I want to thank you guys for listening. Tomorrow we got Derek Vandegrift coming to talk Vandy baseball. Dids in the dugout. If you haven't caught him on the After Dark channel, be sure to do that. Thank you for all of my everydayers for making everything possible. Find us on social media at Locked On Vandy, at Coach Burton 36. Shout out to hopefully my new fan club over there at Vanderbilt Sports or at VandySports.com. So appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate you for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Get you ready for the weekend. It will be opening day. But until then, anchor down.